Hi, and welcome to this session. My name is Matt Jevons, and I work for the University of Leeds. And along with my colleague Emma Sykes, we're going to be talking about and demonstrating Escape the Scam. Escape the Scam is an escape room style game in which students will learn about digital security and how to avoid scams by observing and correcting the bad practice of a fictional character. To do so, they need to identify and correct issues while also solving problems and puzzles along the way. The aim was to create a resource that is both educational and fun, and therefore drive engagement through the experience being enjoyable rather than a chore. So we're going to jump straight into a demo, and following that, we'll tell you a little bit more about how we created the resource. So the game starts with a brief overview of the challenge, and the learners enter their name, which allows us to customize the dialogue throughout the experience. Now, to ensure that users know how to navigate the interface and move between rooms, we started the experience with a guide and tutorial to help orientate people. So we start by explaining the interface elements. So I will quickly click through those. And then following this, we have some guided navigation practice. So the user's been asked to click on the laptop, so we'll follow that. And then we've got to navigate between rooms and practice doing that. So let's just pop out to the hallway. And that's it, we're done. So we'll dive right in now. So it looks like we're getting a text message from Sarah. It's hacked into a bank account, that doesn't sound good. Oof, nothing's been taken, so that's a relief. So it seems that university students are being targeted. And yeah, that might be a problem for Dan because he's not very good with this kind of stuff, is he? Right. Oh, here's Dan calling now. Let's pick up.
Hey mate, this is a bad line, I can't hear you. Hopefully you can hear me. I assume Sarah has already contacted you about this hacking stuff. Nightmare! Look, I'm out on fieldwork all day and signal isn't great where I am, so I can't manage anything from here. I left some devices around the flat. Can you please go check them out? I'm happy for you to log in, open my accounts, and change any passwords or settings you need to. You have my permission to modify whatever is necessary to secure them. Sarah said they got her bank details. I've got the money in mind for my flight home. I can't afford to lose anything. Sorry, I know this is a pain, but do you know what I'm like with rubbish passwords and stuff? The laptop will have gone to sleep. The password is my birthday, so it's...
Okay, so I best we best go to Dan's room then. Let's find our way there now. Right, so he's got a keypad on his door. We don't have the code for that right now. Let's go find it, see if it's somewhere else in the apartment. Right, in the kitchen. Let's look at this corkboard. Yeah, when we had that flat party, we asked everyone to leave their coats in his room and he put his code on a post-it note, which not very secure, Dan. Maybe we shouldn't be doing that again, but at least now we'll be able to get into his room. Let's see if this works. Right, we're in. Okay, so what do I have to do next? Let's see, let's go on the checklist. Get into his laptop and change his password. Okay. Right. Let's see, how can we find out Dan's date of birth to get in here? Cool cipher tool, but I don't think we need that right now. Crossword, that was maybe for later. What's this? There we go, Dan's date of birth on a letter in his bin. Perhaps needs to shred those for security going forward. We'll need to make sure we mention that to him. Let's try that in the laptop then. There we go, we're in. Right, he's not used this in a while, so he wants to do a software update. We don't have time for that, let's do that later. Okay, changing his password. Doesn't like that. Let's follow the instructions and go make another one using that crossword. Right, the crossword was on the desk, wasn't it? So I don't know the answer to any of those questions, so let's go search for clues. Right, 6 clues, let's go find them. Not to be one. Okay, so he's a Nottingham Forest fan, that's good to know. Takeaway menu there, that must be his favourite restaurant. What else have we got? Oh yeah, the letter's got his date of birth on, we've got that already. Ah yeah, that party went dressed as a Jedi, didn't he? Good times, right, okay, what else have we got here? There's a magazine on the floor there, so he's a PS5 gamer, that's also good to know. And he's a fan of the White Stripes, it seems. Let's see, is that all the clues collected now? Yes, that's it, we've got them all. Let's go back to the crossword. So 1 down, what football teams do he support? That must be Forest. 2 down, what did he go to the fancy dress party as? That was a Jedi. 3 across, his favourite restaurant was ramen with an at for the A. No, his favourite band, it was the White Stripes. There we go. And he's a 5 down, he's a PS5 gamer, that's the console he plays. And the year he was born, we remember that from his NHS letter, 2005. Right, let's generate that password. There we go. Add that to the clipboard, save us typing it out. And let's get back to his laptop. Okay, let's change this password. Great, that's worked. Now the next task it's telling us to do is add that to the password manager. So let's give that a go now. There we go, that's done. Excellent. What's this? Adverts popping up. It seems that we should have done the system update before. Now we need to perform a scan to get rid of this adware. Might cost us a bit of time, so let's do that. Right, now we're being asked to contact Sarah again. Out of data. Let's choose one of these Wi-Fi sources. Okay, let's go University Wi-Fi. That might not be genuine university Wi-Fi. I think there's a lesson to be learnt there. Don't trust everything that you see. Let's go for the flat Wi-Fi instead. Okay, let's go see if we can find this password. Likely be in the communal area in the kitchen, let's see. Usually these things are written on routers, aren't they? Looks like there's a router on the breakfast bar there. Let's copy that password to the clipboard. There we go. Let's head back to Dan's room. And let's see if that works. Excellent. Let's message Sarah, tell her what we've done. Okay, now let's go Dan's tablet in his desk drawer and find out how to get into it. It's been scribbling codes about with a glow-in-the-dark pen by the sounds of things. Let's see what we can do from here. Right, so desk drawer for the tablet. Let's see. Okay, this is locked, but it's only 2 digits. I wonder if we can brute force this. Let's see. There we go, that wasn't too hard. And now we've got the laptop. Sorry, the tablet. Okay, so now we need to get into the tablet, and it's been using a glow-in-the-dark pen. So let's turn the light off and see if we can find out where that code is. There it is on the wall, 7621. Let's go to his laptop. 7621. Excellent, we're in. Right, okay, I've learnt my lesson because I didn't update software last time. I think this time we will do the backup because it might come back to bite us later if we don't. There we go, it sounds like that was the right thing to do. Okay, so let's see what we have to do next. We've got our checklist, and there's a list of things to do here on Dan's tablet. Okay. Let's start with security settings. So two-factor authentication, we definitely want that on. I don't think we want to auto-connect to public Wi-Fi or allow app installs from all sources. But yeah, anti-malware and antivirus is surely a good thing. And yeah, find my device if it's lost or stolen, that'll come in useful. Let's see if that's correct. Yep, there we go. I doubt Dan's trying to get into his gaming accounts at the minute, so let's deny that. And again. It looks like someone's going for a two-factor authentication bombing attack here, sending me a load until I get frustrated and accept it, but I'm wise to that, so I'm not going to do it. Let's deny that one. And the account's been locked. That's something Dan will have to deal with when he's back. So we do have limited time, so I'm going to stop there, but hopefully that's given you a flavour for the resource and how it works. And now myself and Emma are going to take a bit of time to tell you about the wider project and how we went about developing the resource. So fraud prevention is something that we take very seriously here at the University of Leeds. One of the more shocking headlines that I've heard of is that a single student lost £170,000 in one scam, which is obviously devastating for that individual. So the West Yorkshire Police approached the University of Leeds with the idea to digitalise an existing in-person escape room that they'd created in collaboration with the Metropolitan Police, and we saw that as a fantastic opportunity both to support our students and also to drive innovation within digital education, as we've not created anything like an escape room before. So the West Yorkshire Police and Met escape room game used things like lock boxes, locked briefcases, crosswords, UV pens, and had a lot of video which was used to structure the narrative. So we knew that we wouldn't be able to directly translate that into a digital experience, and that we need to do a bit of rework to make that digital. So we knew there was a bit of adaptation that would need doing there. And then straight away we ran into a bigger issue with the copyright for the videos and not being able to reuse those. But then we actually saw it as an opportunity to take this and design it from the ground up as a built for digital experience, and also to be really student centered. We're also very keen that this was not going to be Leeds specific, and that it could have benefit beyond our institution. So that was another thing that we tried to do when thinking about writing our own narrative. So this was a huge team effort that involved 12 people who came from different departments, had a wide range of disciplines, and the project, it was quite a long project. It took 2 years to complete. That was partially because we didn't give ourselves a hard deadline. This was sort of everyone's background project, pet project that they were working on, which was quite nice and allowed us to make something of really high quality. And I think we're really happy with the result that we got to at the end. So now Emma's going to tell you a little bit more about our development process.
Thanks very much. Yes, so the team began by workshopping some potential scenarios. We wanted a game premise that would allow players to experience relevant challenges which would test their understanding of security issues. One aspect that needed to be worked into the design was getting legitimate access to another person's computer. We didn't want to be modelling hacking somebody else's device. There were various ideas that were considered, including a time travel storyline, but eventually the team settled on a narrative, as you saw in the demonstration, where the player got permission from an absent housemate to secure their devices. It's a bit more pedestrian, but certainly more realistic. As Matt mentioned, there was also the potential to distribute the game to other universities, so we did make the decision to avoid any storylines that had a specific Leeds theme or references. Early on in the process, we drafted learning outcomes based on the principles from the initial West Yorkshire Police project. That helped us make sure the activities the players completed did actually deliver relevant learning experiences. And whilst these slightly dry, high-level activities, like setting up a secure password, were linked to learning outcomes, there was a scope to make the steps to get there more interesting. We considered traditional escape room mechanics and thought about what aspects of these do and don't translate well into a digital format. When you've done in-person escape rooms before, you'll know that things like combination locks, hidden clues, UV torches are all things that come up quite often. So we knew we wanted to build some of these in the game. Before we built some of our more complex puzzles digitally, we realised there'd be a benefit to building physical prototypes to figure out how they might work practically. We knew we wanted to create a crossword to help players generate a secure password, so this needed to include upper and lowercase letters, symbols, and numbers. We also planned on using a jigsaw type puzzle where numbers of a code were split over different pieces and obscured. And so to tackle these, we had an in-person workshop where we split into 2 groups and each created one of those puzzles on paper, and then they shared the results with each other to test. And there was definitely a trick to balancing challenge and difficulty. Deliberately obscuring answers is in opposition to the way we normally work. The team from production and creative began to build the game in Storyline 360, starting with building the student flat and adding in details from there. They had to be inventive to avoid branding and trademark terms, but it just did allow for some imaginative solutions. Good game design involves a lot of testing, and there was an ongoing cycle of build, test, refine throughout the whole process. We started by testing within the project group, which helped us iron out many technical glitches. And there was also a subgroup who made improvements to the scripts, using them to set the scene, but also to explain to the player what they were supposed to do next. It was important for that to feel as natural as possible without too much clunky exposition. We also removed elements that didn't suit the wider story or were otherwise unnecessary. At one point, we required the player to listen to a podcast on network settings. We didn't want this to be a slog. It needed to be fun to play. Then we expanded our testing outside of the group, sending the game to people within the department and the wider university who hadn't been involved in the design stage. They tested the game independently, which was more realistic. Unlike a traditional escape room, there wouldn't be somebody on hand to support or give clues. And to be standalone, it needed enough support within the game for users to get help when they needed it. This stage helped us build better help resources and also helped us identify more areas for improvement. We refined questions on football teams, use of password managers, and debated the cultural impact of Star Wars. When we were confident that we had a playable game, we ran an in-person testing session with some of our student ambassadors. This allowed us to watch the game being played, which was a really valuable experience, seeing how people new to the game navigated the environment, how they tackled the puzzles, and how they managed the clues. We discussed the gameplay with the players after the session, which led to some of the final honing of the puzzles and clues, getting into the real detail of wording. In the final stage of testing, we sent the game to the key stakeholders, and we were still making small tweaks and enhancements right up to the launch. I'll pass back to you, Matt.
Thank you. So yeah, when it came to actually putting the game together, the only tool that we had at our disposal that really fit the bill, one that you might have all heard of before, is Articulate Storyline 360. So the reason that worked is it had 360 image support, allowed us to use triggers, conditional logic, and variables. And one of the most important things was JavaScript execution, which really allowed us to expand the functionality how we wanted, to include things like timers, to also have the ability to cut time off that timer as the user made incorrect decisions. It allows us to do things like copying passwords to clipboards so that people didn't have to remember them and write them down, and also to restrict crossword fields so that they could only have one text or number entry. The other thing that was key to this was having the right imagery. So the University of Leeds Accommodation Services were able to provide us with 360 images of a student flat, which our digital design team were then able to edit to include elements that supported the story, such as corkboards with clues on, posters on the wall, and so on. So in terms of what's next for this resource, we've now launched it to our students back in February. That was a bit of a soft launch, and now we're currently in the process of being able to really communicate that to our students. We're trying to drive engagement through incentives. So we've currently got a promotion where we're giving away a £100 shopping voucher through a prize draw for people who complete the resource and provide us with their details. And what we've decided to do is to pilot this for 12 months before considering external audiences and how we might be able to share this outside of Leeds. So yeah, that's the end of our presentation. I hope you found that interesting. Myself and Emma will be at the live Q&A if you do have any questions, but otherwise, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.